Good afternoon and welcome back. I hope you had a great, if hurried, lunch. Our next speaker. Eric Mintel is an experienced paranormal investigator who has hosted the highly engaging TV show Eric Mintel Investigates since 2016. With a keen interest in the unexplained from an early age on, Mintel's investigations have uncovered compelling evidence linking many mysterious occurrences, some of which shed light on previously undisclosed sightings and encounters with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, or dogmen. A consummate professional in front of the camera, he has had stories written up on his paranormal activities by numerous newspapers, has been featured on radio stations and podcasts across the country and around the world. Eric Mintel is also an outstanding jazz musician who has fronted the Eric Mintel Quartet for probably 20 years or so. He has played the White House twice, the Kennedy Center more than 10 times. And this evening, I am very proud to say he will be doing a performance at our beautiful historic church just next door. It begins at 7. It's open to the public. It's free. All donations accepted. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Mintel.
Thank you so much. I can't even go on now after that introduction, but thank you so much. You know, Peter, I have to say, Peter is the one that put my name in the hat to be in this festival. And what a great thing to have in your own backyard, right? How many people here from Exeter? How many people from out of town? Ooh, look at that. That's awesome. So incredible. Yeah, this is a great, so when I knew I was going to be speaking here again this year, I was so excited. So I'm really happy to be here, really happy to see you guys. And just, I got a lot of cool stuff for you guys today. And as Peter mentioned, I'm doing a jazz concert tonight. So basically, it's me on solo piano, but I brought a Bluetooth speaker with me that also provides bass and drums with some of my songs. So I'll have a virtual trio with me, so it'll be really cool. But as Peter mentioned, I'm going to just start this real quick because I'm going to go into one thing here. There we go. This is my little intro here. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. I'm going to set the mood. And that's me. That's my usual look. So, as Peter mentioned, I am a jazz musician. That's my jazz quartet. We've literally been together 32 years. Thank you. I say we've been together longer than most marriages. But, you know, I was very fortunate early on to have an incredible mentor in jazz, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with the name, Dave Brubeck. And so I found Dave Brubeck's music when I was 14, and I was always playing the piano, and my mom and dad would always find me at the piano. I was an only child. We didn't have much, but we had a piano in the house. It was sort of in tune. So I was always at the piano trying to figure out melodies and stuff. And then when I was around 14, I found Dave Brubeck's music and then learned everything I could on Dave Brubeck, and then actually had a great friendship with Dave for close to 20 years. And I learned a lot of life lessons from Dave, not only through music, but about work ethic and getting out there constantly. At one point, we were almost doing 365 dates a year. So we've curbed that down a little bit because I'm searching for Bigfoot now. So. But we've had some incredible opportunities. So, and the guys are still with me. As a matter of fact, when I get back, we're playing again. We've got a big festival out. We're from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Who knows that area? Oh, good, cool. Just a little bit outside of Philadelphia, and so been there most of my life. And that area is incredibly paranormal. It's just like this area, very historic, but it's riddled with ghost stories, UFOs, Bigfoot sightings. So naturally, growing up in that area, I always loved the paranormal and always had an interest in that, but you know, most of my life was jazz. So in 2016, I was looking at a lot of paranormal shows on television, and I was always a filmmaker. I was always doing video and editing and things like that, and I love editing. And I was looking at that, and I said, man, I could do something like that. I could do a show about some things here in Bucks County that maybe people, aren't familiar with, and we'll get, get a show going that way. And so originally I called it Bucks County Paranormal Investigations, and then I switched it to Eric Mintel Investigates because we were getting calls from people saying, hey, could you feature my bed and breakfast, our inn? Hey, I've had a Bigfoot sighting. We had a UFO sighting. So it's been amazing that way. And so we've spoken to a lot of incredible people who have had incredible encounters. And then just a couple of things, very blessed to be a guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie.
Up next on Coast to Coast, Eric Mintel back with us as we talk about some strange sightings in Pennsylvania and his investigations of Dogman, Bigfoot in New York, ghosts in Georgia, and all over the place when we come back.
So I'm going to, I have a different presentation this year. It's more UFO oriented, but we'll also get into some Bigfoot, Dogman sightings, ghosts, all of the above. So we've done it all. So 2016, I started my show. In 2017, a high school buddy of mine, Dominic Sattel, who is now on our team, he's our spirit medium of my team. And back in the 80s, when we went to school, we were practicing martial arts. We were doing all kinds of stuff together. Didn't even know he was a medium, had no clue. Because back in the 80s, saying that kind of stuff, it was like taboo, Even if you had, like Charlie said earlier, if you had a UFO sighting, you didn't talk about it. But now, I think right now in this age that we're in, you've got the government saying, hey folks, the UFOs you're seeing are real, we just don't know what they are. And I truly believe they don't know what they are. They don't know what they're dealing with. But so Dominic came in 2017 and said, hey, I can help you out with these cases. So, because I'm a spirit medium, I'm like, what? So he came into the group and he's been incredible. I don't have what he has. I don't have that second sight where he could feel in those areas when he goes into those locations. Very rarely do I have that feeling of, oh, I got to get out of here. But when he goes into a location, I know all of the historical and paranormal activity that's happened, and I'll keep it to myself until he gets on site, and then when he starts getting like 95% to those hot spots that the activities happen, then I'll tell him, okay, this is what's going on. So, and then what happens, there's another story that starts unfolding, which is just amazing. And we're able to capture all of this on video, which is amazing. So last year, we had so many UFO encounters happening. Do you guys remember the drones that were going over, all the drone footage and everything? So we got a lot of video footage from that, which some were drones, some were man-made drones, but some were not. Some just disappeared. And Sherry and I had an encounter, which you'll see as well. But this couple and here's the other thing too, we're in an age, my point was, we're in an age that people are not afraid now to come on camera to tell their story, because now they're giving us an outlet to say, hey, I had this encounter too. And maybe you guys have had some of these encounters as well. But this couple, Beth and Ty, part of my talk today is about paranormal and everyday people and how it's connected, because I think people are connected to these energies or entities and all this paranormal activity. And Beth and Ty were in the Bahamas last year on a cruise ship, and in the middle of the Bahamas at night, 12:30 at night, they're on the balcony, and Beth sees these, what she describes as like jellyfish, flying jellyfish, just like splat, like she almost described them as cartoon splats. And this is sort of the interview.
And there's three plasma-looking things with tentacles, but then I quickly realized that they weren't fireworks. They were squealing, this high-pitched squealing noise, and dancing, playing with one another. Wow. Usually about 300 not kidding you.
They were close.
300 feet away from us.
They were plasma light, they were translucent, they were like a greenish color.
Squealing and pulsating.
Pulsing.
Squealing.
Like,
I described it as a high-pitched tweeting sound.
as I said to you before, I always kind of explain things away.
Yeah.
And I said, were those birds? And she looked at me and she goes, we're in the middle of the ocean. Those are not birds. And when have you ever seen translucent birds?
That's crazy. Yeah, that is crazy.
Dancing in the sky. But as he was saying that, I see from...
Wait, before you say that. So I said, let me go get my phone if they come back. And I went to turn away, and she says, look. I turned back, and now there is an orange plasma orb. Comes out of the water, stays there, and then it just...
It was chased after them. It didn't make noise.
No, it made no noise.
Orange ball.
Right out of the water.
Right out of the water. But it didn't just come out of the water and shoot off. It came out of the water and then shot off.
And
So that was amazing. Now I'm saying to myself, I'm looking at this and their description. I'm saying, are these even machines now? Are they even machines that were even, maybe it's a new life form. Maybe it's an organic life form. Did anyone ever think about that? So it was just crazy. And we've had other reports like that. Now, this is not the same cruise ship, but this is a cruise ship director, a captain, who had the same encounter with a floating, flying, like they said, another jellyfish that went down the length of the ship, and they got it on video here too. Check this out.
So I thought it would be a nice way to catch a sunset. I had a drone in my hand, and someone said, "What's that?" And we look up, and there was, I put it on TikTok. It looked like a black jellyfish, a gigantic black jellyfish, and it sailed right over the retreat, directly through the center line of the ship, right through our X and our stack, and just floated. The thing was, we had no wind, maybe 5 knots at the time, but this thing was cruising along about 10, 15 miles per hour, just cruised right over, and as it passed the stern of the ship, it went a couple hundred meters, maybe 300 to 400 meters, and then it started to descend into the water. Because of the sunset, we couldn't put a rescue boat down to go see what it was, but it disappeared into the water.
So, in the age of AI that we're in as well, you always have to really be careful of what's out there, because a lot of stuff's faked. But that is real footage. You could definitely tell the difference between real and hopefully you could tell. I see a lot of stuff on Facebook and a lot of the stuff that they're putting out, Bigfoot and UFOs, that are clearly AI generated, but this kind of evidence, when they're there, you have like a 5-second window to get any kind of evidence like this. Okay, so I don't know if you could see this. I'm sorry it's so bright in here. Fast forward now to, this is Lake Placid, New York. This was just this month, earlier in this month. My cameraman, Mike, and his wife, Adi, were in Lake Placid, New York. And she got up at like 4 in the morning and shot this video. I don't know if you could see this or not, but there's 2 lights there. If this is darker, this is on my YouTube channel too. You could see all this stuff. There's trees here, 2 lights, just equidistant apart, pulsating. Then late July, in the Poconos of Pennsylvania, the same lights that a restaurant got. They were on their break and they took the video of these lights. So very, very similar things going on. Then going back to 2021, I think 2021 was probably the most paranormal year. Not only did we were going through COVID and all that crazy stuff that we all went through, in 2021 we started getting reports of, and where I am in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, people were seeing this low-flying, brightly lit object, multiple lights, hovering, silent, and people were actually drawing pictures of what they're seeing. And this woman, Leslie, we live in an area, it's a lake called Peace Valley Park. It's a man-made lake. And right here, down here are house lights. You can see the house lights are down here. In the middle, the dark part, hopefully you can see that, but the dark part here is the lake. And then above this is where she caught these multiple lights. And she got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and she's looking out the window, and she's like, oh, that's odd. And she got her clothes on, went outside, and said, I am seeing this. So she took her video, and this is what she captured. And again, I'm sorry it's so light in here, but you could see these twinkling lights above the lake. Those are the house lights down there. But there's all these lights that are just hovering above the lake. And at first I thought, well, maybe it's Starlink satellites, but Starlink's in a straight line, and they move. I saw that one night. I was letting my dog out for a walk, and all of a sudden I saw this, and it's amazing to see this like string of lights, and all of a sudden they just disappeared because they were catching the light from the sun. But it was amazing. But that was Starlink, and I don't think that was Starlink. That was something else that was floating above the lake. Then a guy that lives 15 minutes up the road from me was saying, hey, you know, he found me through our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. He goes, hey, listen, would you guys want to come up and investigate this weird light that's going over my house almost every year and every night? And would you like to come up and investigate? I'm like, yeah, I'll be right up. So Dominic and I went up, and this was crazy because he is getting this crazy light, which you'll see, which kind of reminds me of what Charlie described. It's and let's hear it for Charlie again, man. I mean, unbelievable. That was. I was so excited when Charlie was going to be speaking, man. I've just had found out about that a couple of weeks ago, so I was glad that he's here. And but this was amazing. So I'm explaining to Mitch. I'm trying to find out what he's seeing, and this is what he saw, and this is what he said.
What do they look like to you? Are they in a straight line? Are they in a formation? No, it's more like a giant orb with
varying points of light. So this thing's going over, and it's like similar to what a lot of people are seeing, and it's just absolutely crazy.
And pulses of light.
Wow. You had told me, Robin, you had.
So I got to tell you about Mitch and Robin. Mitch and Robin are phenomenal people, and they like UFOs, and he's got a reputation in the community. He's like like an accountant for like these Fortune 500 companies. So he does not care about saying what he's thinking these are on camera, which I love about that guy, and because it happened, because he's seeing this. But Robin, his wife, had this incredible encounter, and she'll explain it to you.
Similar situation, but it was kind of like something that really kind of came right up to you. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, I was sitting here, and Mitch had gone in the house, and I'm looking up there, and over here I see, it took the size of my finger. It came from way over there, and it just came right at me, and right up to my nose. I was yelling for Mitch to come out, and it was right here, all of a sudden it just...
So Robin is talking about a finger-sized point of light that's coming up to her. This finger-sized point of light coming up, and I'm thinking in myself, what is this thing doing, scanning her? Is it? So, and I've heard other reports of this, these orbs coming up. Has anybody ever heard of that? Orb? Okay, so orbs coming up to people and then shooting away. So again, I go back to the thing, is this maybe a life form somehow? But she said she saw it, and then you'll see in this other, some other slides later on in this other video, where we got the same thing when we investigated a cryptid out in Elkhorn, Wisconsin called the Beast of Bray Road, but more on that later. But here's some more of UFO footage here. Now this, I think, is a drone. I think this is like a man-made drone coming up to this tower. Just to give you an idea of the difference here. I think it's just checking out the tower. This was around the time people were getting these drones, and I don't believe that's a UFO. Because look, folks, I go into a lot of these things skeptically because I want to really find out what's going on there. You know, we're as truth-based as we possibly can. And if I call it and say, I don't know, but who knows? I don't know, maybe that is a UFO. But it goes down behind the house. But I think that was probably one of the maintenance drones for that tower. Now here's the drawing that they were showing me. It's very, like, the multiple lights and very brightly lit. This woman, 1 a.m. Wednesday, I'm about closing the curtains in my guest bathroom and looked up at this large object, quite big, wider at the back than the front, saw the bottom, all white lights at the bottom, not flashing, not a plane, no sound. And then she says, wow. So, I don't know if there's any paranormal investigators here, detectives, or anybody like that, but when we interview our witnesses, and they're having a hard time getting out what they saw, or they're getting goosebumps, their voices are cracking, you know that they had some kind of a profound experience that they can't explain. And so I thought that was really cool, and people are drawing these things. It was just amazing. And then over in Bucks County, which is over in Newtown, Pennsylvania, again, we're getting these triangular formation of lights that someone had just pulled off to the side of the road and got these lights and sent it to me. And then they just disappeared. And then over at a hospital, a nurse was on her break, and she's looking out the window, and she sees these 3 points of light. And she's in the middle of the daytime. And so she calls a worker over and says, are you seeing this? And she's like, yeah, I'm seeing it too. And didn't know what it was hovering over the highway, and eventually those lights go into a straight line. They're just like 1, 2, 3. But amazing that everyone is right there, you know, because everybody's got a camera in their pocket nowadays, right? So, but you've got that little bit of a window. And then check this, look at this. This is footage we got from Louisiana. A woman sent this to me who is a complete skeptic, until she saw this. Fleet of UFOs coming over. And again, I apologize, it's so light in here, but you could see all of this, and they keep going, and they keep going. There's more there. Completely silent, and you can't hear her saying, but she's trying to tell her husband to come out, look at this, look at this. There was a full moon that night as well, but they're orange. They're red, orange orbs just pulsating. And then there was a full moon right there, and then they just disappeared. And then Sherry and I, is there any way to, I'm standing in front of this, is there any way to lighten that at all? Where'd he go? He's gone. Sherry and I, in 2016, this was January of 2016, we're do you guys familiar with New Hope, Pennsylvania? You know that, in Bucks County? Okay. So we're going home from New Hope from dinner, and Sherry at the time had a house in Stockton, New Jersey, which we had to cross over a bridge that goes over the Delaware and to get into Stockton. So as we're going over the bridge and we're going over the Delaware, all of a sudden these 5 orange orbs showed up out of nowhere. And of course, I'm like trying to figure this, and in my rational mind, I'm like, well, maybe these are Chinese lanterns. Maybe there's something, you know, that maybe there's a wedding going on, because there's a restaurant right next door. Well, the restaurant was closed. It was a Wednesday. It was cold. No one was getting married. So then I took my phone out, and Sherry got a good look at these things, and they were just there. It looked like they were doing like a search pattern or something like that over the water. And so I got my phone out, and of course, I go to take a picture, the flash goes off in the car. So I got to take the flash off, and by the time I got the second picture, and I'll show you the actual photo, I was able to get it, but they one by one were starting to dissipate. They were starting to disappear. And then I was able to get one shot, and if you could see this soon here. There it is right there, that red orb up there. Now, they were only about 300 feet above, and there it is, above the bridge. So that's what really got my attention, was like, wow, this is crazy. It's like right, it was so close to the bridge. And, okay, cryptids. Who believes in Bigfoot? Oh, good. Oh, awesome. I love it. Who doesn't believe in Bigfoot? Okay, that's cool. I was on the fence with a lot of these things. Oh, actually, I got to say, who's heard of Dogman, and not the new Disney movie? Okay, cool. Anybody here had an encounter with a Dogman? So here we are. Anybody ever hear of the Beast of Bray Road in Elkhorn, Wisconsin? Okay. So a good friend and fan of ours, Ellen Collins, she said to me, and she loves what we do, and she lives in Wisconsin. She says, you know, you guys ought to do a video on the Beast of Bray Road. I'm like, I had heard about it, and I didn't know too much about it. The Beast of Bray Road is supposed to be a 6 to 7 foot tall, upright, canine, dogman, werewolf-like creature. Didn't really put too much into it. I said, yeah, I would love to do that. I said, but the only thing is, I'm here in Pennsylvania, you're in Wisconsin. How are we going to do this? How are we going to get out there? Anyway, so she wound up paying the whole freight for us to go out there, and plane fare and hotel, and I edited the thing. So I made her the executive producer of this video, and she's a phenomenal lady. And so this was in October of 2021, but she had asked me about this in July of 2020. In December of 2020, I had watched a show on TV called Paranormal Declassified, and I saw this gentleman, Lee Hample, from Elkhorn, Wisconsin, who has had encounters with this dogman on his farm. And for whatever reason, and this is my whole career has been like this, I just called him up and asked him. Just like us going to the White House, I called to ask if we could play at the White House. Ask and you shall receive, right? But I didn't know at the time. You know, he could have said, oh, who the hell is it? But anyway, I called him after that show. We were on the phone for 2 hours, and he was so interested in what we were doing, and he was showing me all these pictures that he's getting of this thing on his property. So I said, Lee, could we do an investigation on your farm? He said, absolutely. So fast forward almost a year later, we did, a few months later, in October of 2021 is when we went out. It was the 2nd through the 4th of 2021. And we went on this, on the farm of Lee, and he's a hay farmer. So to set this up, he has a 35-acre hay field I think he bought this farm from his mother's estate, and he bought it in 2011, and he didn't start farming there until 2013, and in 2014 is when he had his first encounter. And he said one night he's pulling out of his driveway, and he sees these red glowing eyes staring back at him from the entrance of the barn by the outside. And then the thing leaps 15 feet in the air and disappears. So he was freaked out, called his brother Fred. He's like, I got something over here. So he's like, well, hold on, I'll be right over. But the next morning, they went over and looked in the field where this thing was, and they found this track. And it's a little bit more detailed than this, but you can see it. It's a 7-pad, 5-toed track that they found over in this area that he was in. They also found square tracks, these weird square-looking tracks as well. Now, when Lee bought this farm, and had this encounter, his neighbors eventually came up and said, oh yeah, by the way, Lee, that's where the creature lives on your property. Lee's like, what? So Lee goes, well, I know Wisconsin's the home of alcohol, but these guys were serious. So this set Lee on this path to figure out what is on my property. So we had just been out there, and he was getting all kinds of weird stuff. So this track, he's getting this. He's getting a weird mist. He put up so many trail cameras to try to capture this creature, and he's getting a weird mist on this thing that it kind of obscures Lee, and that's in the middle of the daytime. He's down in an area called the bait area, where he's been putting a lot of roadkill deer in this area to try to lure this creature in. And long story short, he's getting this weird mist, he's getting these weird UFO lights through these woods. Now, when I looked at that, I thought, well, maybe that's four-wheelers going through the woods. Maybe that could be something like that, you know. But we went over to the woods to check it out, and they were so thick that you couldn't even ride anything through there. So that was pretty amazing. And then he's getting another thing here, more of this creature on the camera, a pterodactyl. Weird looking things. This is really weird. So there's the mist again, right? So this mist is caught on a trail cam, and I don't know if you could see this, but there's a roadkill deer in there. So these trail cam pictures are timed 30 seconds apart. So he gets this picture, right? Then the mist is gone, and the deer is moved 8 feet. So something's there, but it's obscuring. It doesn't want its picture taken. The hair sample right there, let me see if I could go back to that. The hair sample, yeah, oh well. He's getting hair samples that are like translucent, and just really crazy stuff. And then he's getting these really crazy images again of this creature. And then I'm gonna go back a little bit here, like.
But Dominic was visibly concerned.
What the hell did you get in?
Hold on a second, I'm gonna go back a little bit here. All right.
How is that?
I don't know why this is not working again. Anyway, so hold on a second. Let me see if I could get this back. I wanted to show you the. That's not working now. Oh wait, maybe I got to do this. Oh well. So we were getting those shafts of light. I don't know if you saw that, but there's shafts of light that Lee's also getting out there, which is crazy. So prior to this picture right here, Dominic, this is not working again. Could you help me with this just for a sec? So, thank you, buddy. So prior to this, we were in Lee's barn, and he's showing me. Could you scrub that back just a little bit?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Let it hold to play.
Okay, hold to play.
Eric, what now? Put it back. That's it should go back.
It didn't go back.
It would be flashing.
Okay.
If we got something, Scott.
Oh yeah, go back a little bit further. Yeah, right there, that's good. And then could you stop it when I want to show the guys this, hit play, and then I want to show them this shafts of light, if I can. We saw that, and right after this is, I think, the shafts of light. There's the hair samples there. Right there, could you? So he's getting these really weird shafts of light with these orbs in there on the trail cams, which is really strange. And keep going again on. And there's another shaft of light there too. Very, very strange. Also, in this picture, I don't know if you could see that as well, but hit that again, hit play, maybe that gets closer. Yeah, right there. There's these orbs that are in the middle of the daytime, and in this orb, somebody said it looks like the eye of Sauron from what was that, the Hobbit. But it's weird, it looks like there's something in this orb. And this comes into play when we did the investigation that night, which I have a theory on. So, I think this, oh, there we go.
As a seasoned researcher, but Dominic was visibly concerned.
What the hell did you get in?
I'm always dragging Dominic all over the place with these things. So hunting the dog man was completely out of his wheelhouse. So we were in the field, in the barn with Lee, showing us thousands of pictures. I mean, we were in there for like an hour, just going over this whole thing of all of his evidence, all of these pictures, unbelievable stuff. And he has a lot of pictures that he doesn't want to show because he thinks there's a lot of money involved. He might be able to get some money from a lot of these pictures, but he's keeping that pretty close to the vest of what this thing is. In any event.
Eric, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I heard him say in a documentary that he has 5 cryptids on his property. Do you know what those 5 are?
The only ones I know of are the Dog Man. So he's got some other ones. There's something I don't know. I mean, he's talking about skinwalkers. He's probably talking about this Skinwalker Ranch. But when he says skinwalkers, I think he means this. He's talking about it could be a skinwalker, like a shapeshifter type thing. I don't think he's got anything other than that. He very well could, though. Are you familiar with Linda Godfrey? Linda Godfrey, okay, she wrote and really put the Beast of Bray Road on the map back in the early 90s. This thing's been around since the 30s. But people in the early 90s were getting reports of seeing this thing. And why they call it the Beast of Bray Road, it's crossing over Bray Road in Elkhorn. And Lee's farm is only 0.2 of a mile from Bray Road. So here's the weird thing, and I tell you, there is something there, man, because so on this investigation, it was me, Dominic, Ellen, and Ellen's son, Scott. And Scott builds very high-end drones. And so he had the drone over Bray Road, and he put it up, and the corn was up at this time, so the corn was still up. You could see a big swath going through the corn over to Lee's property, going back through going over Bray Road, and then going through another big swath of corn over to the quarry. There's a quarry nearby that's not in use. I think this thing's living in the quarry because it's got a water source, it's got a place to live. There could be a family of these things, whatever they are. So Dominic obviously was concerned about this, and I have to tell you, I went out into this investigation saying, this is BS, we're not gonna see anything. We're gonna hear some great stories from people, never thinking once that we'd actually encounter this thing. And this night we did. So I said to Lee, could we go and do an investigation in the field back there? It was getting dark, and he said, yeah, but be careful. So it's about 8:30, and we get out there, and it's a 35-acre hayfield, so it's a little bit of a walk to get there. So we had to take a couple of four-wheelers to get down to this area. So no sooner do we get off the four-wheelers, Dominic gets off the four-wheeler and says this.
What the hell is that, Eric? What, that up there? Is that a plane? I don't know. It would be flashing. If we got something, Scott, check that out. Can you get up there? I mean, I hear it. It sounds like it, but... So
right there is an orb of light. I'm going to stop that for a sec. So there's an orb of light going over the field from us, and you could see other planes around this. I would encourage you to go look at my YouTube channel. I'm not trying to plug my YouTube channel. I'm just trying to tell you to go look at this video. It's called The Beast of Bray Road, Alive and Well, and you'll see it for yourself. You could see this orb, and then you see some planes around here where you could see these planes, blinking down below. And then watch what happens here.
That's flashing over there. See, this is flashing.
That's a plane. That's flashing. What the hell is that?
Okay, so that's flashing over there.
Right. This one is not.
This one is not. This is a solid fat.
That's a plane, there's a plane over here. That is just solid light going away from us.
Well, actually, it was getting brighter.
Holy, now it's gone.
And it literally blinked out. So it's hard to show it here, but when you're on site, when we're in the field, we're looking at this thing, and it's going over slowly, because we're not moving the camera around. He's trying to get it with the camera, and at night, while you're trying to get this thing, so he's trying to stay steady, but we're seeing this as it's steadily going over, and it does a 45-degree angle, and then just blinked out. It just disappeared. Now, we looked at to make sure it wasn't like satellites, space station, anything like that, the star map. Nothing was in the area that night. So we had a trifecta of paranormal activity that night. It was crazy. Secondly, this is what happened as soon as they went by, as soon as the UFO came by, then we got this. We hear a howl in the distance. If we could try to be as quiet as possible, you got to hear the next two howls, because this is crazy. Here, watch this. Right there.
Are you hearing this hell?
Oh, shit.
That's getting close.
So I play it again.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
So literally, oh shit. So it was crazy. So here's the thing. It wasn't a coyote. It's not a fox. It's not an owl. It's not anything. I've had hunters listen to this. And again, go home, put headphones on, listen to this thing. Everybody that I've talked to, and including us, which I thought it was when we were there, it sounded like a man screaming in this field that we were in. It was like this low, guttural scream, growl, yell combination. Here's the other thing I've got to put into context for you guys. We have little, those little lavalier microphones that, newscasters wear and stuff. So we use those to catch the close miking for us. This thing was 100 yards away. It was much louder on site than it was on here. So that it was so loud, it caught that sound, which was insane. So for months, we were trying to and we're still wrapping our heads around what it could be. So here's the thing. We didn't have any protection. Again, my stupidity, we didn't have any protection. We had a flashlight and a radio. That was it. So not very protective. So right after that, we're still like, the fear factors there. We're like, what are we hearing? We weren't ready to leave just yet, but we were getting there. But now, Dominic, we're just talking about the howls, and then this happens.
And it can't be rustling. I'm hearing rustling over there.
So Dominic was hearing rustling behind us. And what I didn't do, and I don't know why I didn't do this, but I listened to those howls for the first time just a couple of months ago with headphones. And on the second howl, you could hear there's a growl behind us. So whatever was there was moving in on us, and I didn't even realize. I mean, we're sitting there. No wonder they call it the bait area. We were the bait. So I didn't realize that until I heard these howls. And I get goosebumps talking about it because it happened. So and right after that, right after Dominic said he heard the rustling, he said to our cameraman, Scott, shine the light over to the corn where we just heard the howls, right? So he does this, and again, I hope you could see this.
It was in this area. About the same time Dominic heard the rustling, you can clearly see eyes shine across the field from.
See that light right there? Okay. That light is the eye shine of this thing, because he shined the light over there, and we see it going like this, up in the corn. It was 7 feet up in the corn, going like this, back and forth. Well, that was it for me. I said, let's get out of here. And it was telling us, get out of here, this is my territory. So we got out of there. Lee couldn't believe we were back so soon. I mean, this all happened within like a half hour, like 45 minutes. And here's the other thing. I got a call from a state worker the next day. This was after we heard this. So we didn't have any idea what this sounded like, but he's giving us his testimony of what he and his coworker heard.
A gentleman who had a very recent encounter of the beast with a coworker just days before this call.
He exited the vehicle first. I was driving that day, so he got out, he had his equipment on that he needed to have on. He got out, and when he opened the door, we heard this. He described it as just a loud growl. I thought it sounded more like a growl and yell than that. But it was just a deep monotone, sound that it kept going. So if you were to take like a wild pig sound almost and make it monotone so it wasn't pitched, that's almost what we heard. And
So he's describing similar to what we heard. And that was in the middle of the daytime. So I talked to Lee a couple of weeks ago. The growls and the screams are still happening out there. So I'm like desperately trying to get out there to do another investigation, because we got permission now from the state to explore the 185 acres in that area, which we want to get out there and do that. And then, so fast forward, oh, here's the other thing. That night of the investigation, all the power in Elkhorn went out. It was crazy. And the next morning, I woke up and I had a stick that I must have brought back on my boot from Lee's field. And I went down to Dominic. I said, look what I found. He's like, you brought it back with you, didn't you? But it was crazy. I mean, the night. And the other thing is, we're on our way back to Bucks County, and I get a message from Lee. There's a lot of things to this story, folks. There's so many things here that, you know, I'm trying to give you the cliff notes here. Like earlier in that day of the investigation, I put steak bones in the bait area to try to lure this thing in. Well, the steak bones were gone. But earlier that day, Lee brought us over to the field. And as we were going over the field, Scott is following us with the drone. And as we're going over to the bait area in that particular area, we disappeared off of Scott's drone like his virtual reality glasses. We digitally disappeared. And so Scott lifts the glasses up, we're still there. He puts them down, but we're not there. So there was something electronically disturbing that particular area, which was very strange. Also, Lee said the trail cams that were working were not working that night. It's like, he said that it's like somebody shut them off at 5 o'clock, and it didn't get any pictures of anything that we were doing that night until 7 o'clock the next morning. They came back on. And they're not on a timer or anything, so that was really weird too. But 6 months later, we do a follow-up investigation, and here we are at a library in Elkhorn, and over 140 people showed up to tell their story of seeing this creature. And they all describe the same thing.
Large, canine, on 4 legs. The things that struck me about this was on 4 legs, it had this really strange way of walking, a strange gait to it. And that, once I saw that, sticks in my mind.
And that's just some of the pictures of the people. Lee's actually trying to get the hair samples DNA tested. But unfortunately, it's thousands of dollars to do that, and he doesn't have anything like that. But you could see the area we were in. Now, that's with the corn being down. But there's not a lot of woods there, right? So obviously, it had a lot of hidden area to hide in the corn when we were there in October. When we were there in April, we didn't encounter it. So, but that town hall meeting was amazing. They described it as being on 2 legs. It looked like it was gliding. And then when it was on all 4s, it's really fast. Now, the next investigation we did was of a similar creature, I think that's here, a similar creature in, believe it or not, you know, Bryn Athyn, Pennsylvania. Has anybody ever heard of that? Bryn Athyn Cathedral. It's beautiful, another beautiful area down there. Tom Carey, who was supposed to speak today, unfortunately, he couldn't make it. But Tom and I were on this investigation because Tom is also an anthropologist, beside being an expert on Roswell. And Tom had gotten a lot of witnesses of seeing the same dog man in Bryn Athyn. So we're here talking to this witness, Rich, and he's telling us kind of the same thing that these other people were telling us in Wisconsin.
So it's walking from the right field. We're sitting on the bench, on the first base side, and I'm looking at this thing with the backlight. So it was shadow, and the way it walked, it glided. It didn't walk like a human where it makes, you know, it just like one. It was like one. It was gliding. It's in Pennsylvania, Western PA, the interdimensional.
Yes, I got news for you. There was an interdimensional thing going on in Elkhorn too. Same thing. Yeah. And one of the witnesses said what he saw was like gliding. It was that fast. It was so fast.
And it's 7 feet tall, and it's very fast. And I was just like, oh my God, I think I might have seen the River of the Beast.
Now you heard that? That was supposed to be the Bryn Athyn howl scream or whatever it was. I think that was just car tires screeching. See, I'm always going to go into these too to try to debunk what's there, you know? I'm not saying that every place we go to is haunted. Every place that we go to doesn't have a Bigfoot sighting or whatever. But I'm open-minded to it, but I believe that was I think that was car tires screeching. But it was a cool effect though. And then now we've gotten a new report from Brynathan from a woman that saw a griffin-like creature flying around the area, and she drew it. This is what she drew. Very, very strange. So Tom and I are looking into that. And ghosts. Who's had a ghost encounter here? Ooh, okay. Oh yeah, me too. Our house is haunted. But listen, here's the thing. If there's any place being haunted, right, I always say that they liked being there. You know, people want to go investigate graveyards and places like that. They're not there. They don't want to be there. They want to be in places that they inhabited. Pubs. That's why you see a lot of pubs, restaurants, bed and breakfasts. So here, we were at a place called the Hanoverville Roadhouse in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And this place is unbelievable. This guy, Mark, he bought this restaurant, beautiful restaurant, but before it was a biker bar. It used to have female mud wrestling. Tiny Tim used to play there. So it was really cool, but he refurbished it to a beautiful restaurant. So he's in his office one night, and all of a sudden, he hears this huge crash and goes back to his work. And it was in the back of his mind. He's like, something happened. Let me go rewind the security footage and see what that was. But before he did that, he went downstairs to go see what the crash was. Didn't see anything out of the ordinary. It was, pretty much everything was normal. But it was in the back of his mind. He's like, let me rewind the security footage and see what that was. And when he did that, this is what he saw. Now, I've got to tell you this. When I saw this footage, immediately, I'm like, there's got to be somebody behind that wall that's kicking the chair out. But if you look at that chair, also, if you look at that wall, see there's a low wall here, right there. This extends all the way out and over. So there's no way you could stand there because you'd be right on the security footage. You'd be right in line of the camera. So there was nobody there from that angle doing that. Then he gets this weird thing that happens with this. Check this orb out. This orb comes right across the screen.
This video, you can clearly see an orb flying over toward where the chair just pushed out for the table. Seconds later, some unknown force hurls the sugar container onto the floor. Truly a paranormal event caught on video.
Ghost did not like sugar. So then we're up in the attic. Now here's one place, and there's another place too that I'll show you as well, but there's this one place. In this attic, I felt like, you ever get that vertigo feeling, like that little wonkiness, you get a little dizzy? I felt like that up in this attic. And Mark goes, whatever you do, and Dominic wasn't with me on this, with this walkthrough. Mark goes, whatever you do not turn the mirror around. There was a paranormal group that came in here, they turned the mirror around, and all this poltergeist activity happened. I said, we're not turning the mirror around. Of course, all my friends were like, you should have turned the mirror around. So what we did was, instead, I put a static camera, which that means camera on a tripod, just pointing at the mirror, while we went down and did the investigation. And keep your eyes here into this corner and see what we picked up. Now, there's no animals up there, and it was only the three of us, so nobody was there. We were all downstairs. There's like a dark shadow that comes up into this right there. There's a dark shadow that came up into the mirror right there. And again, you got to check it out when we're in a more controlled environment. What's that?
Looks like somebody's head and right shoulder.
Yeah. That's what we thought.
So is that,
Oh, hold on.
is that the mirror you were not supposed to
Yeah.
But it's facing the wall, right?
It's reflecting this way.
It is reflecting.
Yeah. So that's why he said, don't turn it around. So it was already there when we left it there. Like he was saying, don't turn this that way. Don't go that way with it. So it was already reflecting, yeah. And yeah, nobody was up there. So you're right, that's what we thought too. It was like somebody coming up and down like this. It was weird. And then, so who's heard of the lady in white? Oh, okay, cool. I'm not the only, who's had an encounter with the lady in white? Oh, okay, me too. And my father, believe it or not, had one too. But again, here in Bucks County, there's a beautiful road. It's called Cuddaloosa Road. And it's right along River Road, again, by the Delaware. A lot of stuff with the Delaware River. You go down Cuddaloosa Road. It's like when you go down this road, it's like all of a sudden, the whole energy changes. It's unbelievable. So the reason why we were there is because my friend Tim Griffin had this encounter with this lady in white. He was going over the bridge at Cuddaloosa, and he thought he hit somebody because it looked this woman in white with a flowing dress, big floppy hat, ran right in front of his car, and he went right through her. And so much so that he stops the car and yells out the window, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he heard nothing, and then just got out of there. So what we were down there to see what kind of activity we could get down here. We brought Dominic down, who was also getting unbelievable headaches. When spirit, I don't know if anybody's a medium here or has a psychic ability, but everybody's different. But when spirit is talking to him, his head starts pounding like a headache. And he's getting these images and names and things like that. So he had been getting this name Anna, and he was tuning in on this entity Anna. Well, so while we're doing this, my flashlight, which had fresh batteries in it, starts acting up. And I decided to go back down to the bridge and put the flashlight there to see if we can get some more activity.
Flashlight's really acting up like crazy. I'm going to put it on the bridge on the seat. If you can ask if the spirit is here and see what it does. Maybe to see if it works up. Let's give it a shot. Ask if Anna's here. Anna's here. I know Anna's here. You do? Yeah. Look at that. Look at that.
It started flickering right there.
Batteries in there, folks, by the way. And is it off now? No, it's still on. I'll try to get some words here.
Could this be Anna trying to communicate with Dominic?
Oh my God, man. It just got a few door.
An orb suddenly appeared and the flashlight reacted instantly with it, flickering in response. Truly a paranormal event caught on video.
So it's hard to see in this light, man. I wish it was darker here. But very, very crazy stuff down there, and we're still looking into that. My father had an encounter with this entity back in the 70s. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. My dad was a partier. It's the 1970s. He was a pretty heavy-duty partier. But he says that this particular night, he was sober, and we lived in an area called Upper Black Eddy. You guys ever hear Ringing Rocks in Bucks County? It's a big rock formation that's ringing rock. Really cool stuff. But we live in Upper Black Eddy. And we had a little duplex, nothing special, and we had a clear view of the Delaware River. So my dad is sitting there one night, and it's about 2:30 in the morning, and he's cooking a steak on the grill, the little hibachi grill that we had. And he looks across the river, and he's looking at this white figure, and he's like, "What the heck is that?" And as his eyes adjusted, he said, oh my God, that's a woman. And it looked like white flowing robes. But here's the craziest thing. He said when she turned to look at him from like a quarter of a mile away, her face came right up to his. And he was like, and then went back, and he was stunned. He didn't say anything. And as she went back and started floating on the river again, she's saying, I'm going home, I'm going home. And he said you could hear her words echo through the valley. Now, I've heard, probably one of the reasons why I got into the paranormal, because I had heard that story very early on in my life. And all through my life, he had always told that story. And even on his deathbed a couple of years ago, I said, Dad, did that really happen? He's like, I swear that happened. You know, and I believe him. So it was amazing, and I'll get to my story in a second, but it was just absolutely insane. We just did an investigation. You can't really see this, but we just did an investigation of the old jail museum in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Absolutely incredible. We just released that.
Just saw it again.
Dominic was tuning in on all kinds of orbs.
After realizing we were being watched, and after a quick life change, Dominic told us more about the shadow he also saw.
You were standing here with Chris, we were talking to him. I was watching down there, and you could see as walking back and forth. That would have followed me earlier.
Is it the one from down below that you were having?
No, that's one from up here.
So maybe it's possibly the one that Chris is feeling. Maybe it's not an ending.
I know, I
It's going dark. Chris, that feeling that you just got, it was the same feeling that you had before.
I think the shoulders, but the coldness of the air.
So it was like kind of went through you.
Instantaneous.
Yeah. I felt the same thing with her. I don't know if it's like because of, and it's humid in here. I mean, that's the odd thing. Yeah.
There's no air conditioning.
Right.
There's no ventilation. It can't be anything but that.
We're going to try to work our way.
So this jail is unbelievable. If you guys have ever been up to Pennsylvania or down to Pennsylvania, old jail museum in Jim Thorpe, amazing. But Chris is talking about a time that he had been in there with a crew, and he's part of the Visit Poconos Tourism Council, and they were doing a promo, and he felt coldness on his shoulders, like right in that area. That day we were in there, it was really humid in there, like it is today right now. And it was, you could feel this cold blast. It was really weird. So
That dungeon area. Watch this.
we went down to the dungeon, and we wound up getting some orbs down there. Orbs, again, it's hard to see these here, but you'll see it on my YouTube channel. But we were getting orbs coming down. It's not dust. You know, there's other things that we've seen dust before. These things are like there, and they're, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's other ones that are going this way.
We decided to
So then, let's go back to this. Who believes in vampires? Okay, cool. Well, there's a place in Doylestown, Pennsylvania called the Vampa Museum. And it's a vampire paranormal museum. He's got over 750 vampire killing sets in this museum. And I'm saying to myself, why so many? What was going on? You know, and apparently everybody had these in their houses in Europe and places like that in the 1700s. So we went in this museum, and the idea was haunted objects. Have anybody ever heard of that, about haunted objects? Some of the attachments of these things. I never really go into the dark energy part of these video investigations. We try to stay away from the malevolent spirits and things like that. But this particular video and place, it was like, there was a lot of really crazy energy there. So when we got there, and we're doing the investigation, it was me, Dominic, and we had another psychic medium, Julie, with us. And Ed, the owner. All of Julie and Dominic were being pulled to the barn on the property. So we started the investigation there. We went to the top part of the barn, and they just felt like something was in that area. And Julie said, and we're in the corner of the barn in the back, and Julie goes, you know, God, I feel like something could fall at any second here. And Ed, the owner, goes, well, a chandelier fell on me a couple of weeks ago, and I got the mark right here on my head to prove it. And she goes, oh, I'm glad you're okay. As she says, I'm glad you're okay, we all hear this sound. It goes, "Wort," just like that. "Wort." I know we were hungry. It wasn't our stomachs. But it just was like, "Wort." And Dominic goes, he freaks out. He's like, that's the same sound I heard in the museum when you guys were interviewing Julie. Ed and I were in front of the doll room where Dominic's right in front of here. And that's what Ed and I heard, this weird sound. So I said to Dominic, well, let's get over there and let's do a recap of what you heard. So now we go down to the doll room. Dominic's standing in front of that. Is there any way to lighten that at all? Is there? No? Okay. So he's standing in front of this doll room, and basically the doll room has these like really weird marionettes in there. It's got a 5-foot Burmese doll, Asian face, beautiful doll, but it's got real hair. And it was given to the museum because the family had all this crazy stuff that was going on in the house. And they donated it to the museum. Ed's like, thank you. But Ed also lives there. He lives above the museum, which is crazy. So Dominic is in front of the doll room, and he's giving us a recap. He's saying, well, you know, I thought it was the voice box. It was the same sound that we heard, but I thought it was the voice box of these dolls with the batteries dying. Well, what Dominic doesn't know, there is no voice boxes of these things. There's no electronics. These dolls are way older than that. There's nothing. So as he says that, I'm not sure if you're going to hear this or not, but we hear the same thing. We hear "ort." As soon as he says, I thought it was the voice box of the batteries dying, as soon as he says that, you hear right away, "ort."
She's the extra footage where Dominic heard that strange sound by the doll room.
Ed and I were just out here, and I heard the noises coming from over here. It sounded like almost like I don't want to say growl, but it sounded like a voice box with the batteries dying. Oh, yeah. Whoa, I just heard that. That's it.
All right, so look, we're doing some extra footage here, but guys, that was weird.
I'm telling you, that is what I heard. But it sounded like a voice box with the batteries dying.
Right there.
With the batteries dying. With the batteries dying.
Oh, I heard it too. Oh, it's a cat. It's on. I want to check to see if a cat go up there.
No, that wasn't a cat. That was something else.
So mass chaos ensues.
I'm telling you, Eric, that was the noise. Uh-oh. You all right? Is she okay? Eric, he's up there. Huh? Okay. Oh, sorry, man. That just... No.
So you could hear Dominic, he's really, really upset. He never gets like that. He is pretty middle of the road like I am. But in this instance, he was freaked out. He will not go back there. He's done. He's done with this place.
No, I'm sorry, no. Here, let me get you on camera. That, man. It's still on. It's still recording?
Is it getting light up? So we just heard the same sound that we heard in the barn. We just heard it here.
I've got goosebumps. Ed freaked out. Don freaked out. I don't know what the hell that is, but that's the same thing that we heard in the barn.
Okay, so a couple of weeks later, I'm doing a book signing at the museum, and a mother and daughter were taking video at that room, and they caught this too.
You heard the laugh? I did.
It laughed.
It sure did. Yeah.
Right there.
I heard that.
Amazing. I mean, they got the same thing. And I freaked out. So I'll close with this today, guys. You know, here's the thing. I think, and the premise of this talk is about how we're all connected to this paranormal activity, whatever it is. You know, you could be sitting there and look, you could be seeing a UFO, a full body apparition ghost, but the person next to you doesn't see it. Maybe either your antenna is more connected than theirs, but there's millions of people having these encounters every single day. So there is a real connection there, and that's the fascinating part of this activity and this research. And all of these places, like right here at Exeter, I mean, this incredible encounter that you guys had in the 65, right? 65 or 66. 65. You know, it's part of American history. But people pass by this place, they might not even know about that. You know, I asked people at the hotel, I said, "Are you going to the festival?" "Oh no, we never knew that was happening." It's like, what? You're living under a rock? So, but I feel like there are people that are connected to the paranormal world. And this particular, another Lady in White story, I was, as a jazz musician, again, Peter mentioned I'm playing a jazz concert tonight, so come on over, and if you like jazz, it's going to be a fun time. Just going to play some original tunes, some music of Dave Brubeck, some things I might have written as early as today, you never know. But in 1997, I was going to a jazz gig, and I was late for the gig, of course, so I'm always early, but this particular night I was running late. And in Bucks County, we have an area called Pine Lane. It's outside of, in Wrightstown. And I'm going down this road, dark road, woods all around, and I'm going at a pretty good clip, and all of a sudden, a deer runs out in front of me, and bam, I hit this thing. And I felt terrible. I slammed the brakes on, and me and the deer are sliding like 60 feet together, because I was going pretty fast. Slid, got off the side of the road. Nobody's around, nobody's on the road. And obviously, you know, I'm a piano player, but I get out of the car and I'm looking at this poor deer, and in the woods behind me, I hear a woman's voice say, "How's your hands?" Who would ask that? So in the dark woods, I turn around, and here, there was a lady in white. I used AI to kind of give you an idea of what it was like. But she comes out of the woods looking like that. But the crazy part was, and I'm like this, I'm just stunned the whole time looking at, she goes down to pick up this 200-pound deer by the ear and drags it off the road like it's nothing, like as light as a feather. And then says to me, "Get in your car and get out of here." So she had a communication with me. Now, I went to the gig, told the guys what happened. They were freaked out. I was freaked out. I went back the next day, and I wanted to see, again, trying to debunk it. I thought maybe there was a house or somebody was in the woods that spooked this deer, and that's how I hit this thing. In any event, no houses, no nothing. It was completely barren. Now there's houses there since they've been built up since then. But it was one of the most craziest things that night. And of course, with my dad's encounter, my friend's encounter, this lady in white apparently has been seen all over the country, all over the world, really. Always searching for something, protecting. I always thought for years it was my guardian angel story, you know? But amazing stuff. So that's where I'm at, folks, and we're on the investigations. We've got more. When I get back, we're shooting more video. So stay tuned. Follow me on Eric Mintel Investigates on YouTube. I've also got a book that I'm selling today and signing. It's our casebook investigations of some of the cases that I've talked about today, and all of my social media stuff. That you could find us on as well. Oh, and a really cool thing, I've been doing this 9 years, and finally we are on the Beyond Paranormal Network. Yes. So, you know, it's a streaming channel, but I feel like, hey, you know what? We're really getting out there. People are really enjoying what we're doing. When you see our videos, you'll see that we're also adding a little bit of humor into them, because we don't take ourselves too seriously. We're serious when it comes to the investigations, but you gotta have a little humor in there. As you see, Dominic's always saying, "What did you drag me into now, Mintel?" So it's a lot of fun. So I really, really appreciate you guys. And here's some of my social media stuff that you could see. We're having a big paranormal convention in November up in Jim Thorpe, and there's some of my handles there. But guys, thank you again. Hope you guys had a good time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric Mintel. Remember, starting at 7 in the beautiful historic church, a concert. 10 minutes until our next speaker, final speaker of the day, a personal friend of mine.